Did you know that before Eve, Adam had another wife? Her name was Lilith, a figure surrounded by mystery and controversy. According to ancient legends, Lilith was created before Eve and even before the infamous bite of the forbidden fruit. In Genesis 1, Lilith appears as the first woman, while Eve appears in chapter 2. However, Lilith's story takes a dark turn. When she rebelled against Adam, she ended up becoming Satan's bride and the mother of countless demons. This representation began to gain strength at the beginning of the second millennium of the Common Era, but its origins date back thousands of years, spanning several civilizations. Come with us on this journey to discover Lilith's true origins. According to some legends, she was created before Eve. Genesis 1 mentions the creation of man and woman simultaneously, while Genesis 2 details the creation of Eve from Adam. This apparent discrepancy led to different interpretations and the emergence of the legend of Lilith. Unlike Eve, Lilith was fashioned from the same earth as Adam, symbolizing equality. However, this equality also generated conflicts. In Genesis 1:27 it is written, "Then God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them, male and female he created them." This excerpt suggests that man and woman were created at the same time. In contrast, Genesis 2:21-22 narrates, "Then the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep, and while he slept, he removed one of his ribs, closing up the place with flesh. With the rib that he had taken from the man, the Lord God made a woman and brought her to him." This second account describes Eve being formed from Adam's rib, implying a later hierarchical creation. Modern biblical research suggests the documentary hypothesis, which indicates that Genesis is a compilation of multiple texts gathered over time. This theory helps explain the different narratives about creation, but does not directly address the mythical figure of Lilith. Ancient cultures, on the other hand, filled these gaps with elaborate stories, and by the end of the first millennium of the Common Era, the legend of Lilith began to take on more defined contours. The documentary hypothesis proposes that the first 5 books of the Bible, known as the Pentateuch, derive from 4 main sources: the Yahwist, J, the Elohist, E, the Deuteronomist, D, and the priestly, P. These texts were written by different authors at different times and places, and were later compiled into the final form we know today. This theory explains the duplicities and contradictions in the biblical text, such as the existence of 2 stories about creation. According to a medieval Jewish text known as the Alphabet of Ben Sira, Lilith was Adam's first wife, but she refused to submit to him and abandoned Eden, becoming a demon. This narrative, written between the years 700 and 1000 AD, marks the first explicit mention of Lilith as a rebellious figure. In the Alphabet of Ben Sira, his story begins with his creation from the same soil as Adam, establishing his equality with him. This equality, however, becomes a source of conflict, especially in their intimate relationships. Lilith insists on being treated as an equal and refuses to submit. Frustrated and furious, she pronounces the ineffable name of God and flees Eden. This act of rebellion sets the stage for his transformation into a demonic entity. To trace Lilith's origins, we need to travel more than 5,000 years in time to ancient Sumer, one of the first human civilizations, located in what is now Iraq. Sumerian oral traditions likely gave rise to the mythology of Lilith. At first, she was not a single entity, but represented a class of wind and storm demons known as Lilu. These creatures were considered malevolent spirits associated with the night and the wind, and were blamed for various misfortunes, such as illness and death. The term Lilu itself suggests a connection with darkness and can be translated as nocturnal creature or night monster. One of the earliest written references to Lilith appears in the Sumerian text Inanna and the Hoopoe tree. In this story, Inanna, the goddess of love and war, grows a tree that becomes home to several creatures, including Lilith, described as a shadowy figure living in the tree's trunk. When Gilgamesh, a renowned Sumerian hero, arrives, he banishes Lilith, indicating that in that context she was seen more as a nuisance than an evil demon. The story goes like this. Inanna finds a tree that was uprooted by the Euphrates River and replants it in her garden, hoping to turn it into a throne and a bed. However, the tree becomes the refuge of a serpent in its roots, an Anzu bird in its branches, and Lilith in its trunk. Gilgamesh intervenes, killing the serpent, scaring the bird, and driving Lilith away into the desert. Lilith's association with the desert and owls is significant. Its name is often translated as night monster or screaming owl, reflecting this connection. The short-eared owl's scientific name, Athene noctua, shares linguistic roots with Lilith, indicating an ancient symbolic connection between the character and that bird. In many ancient cultures, owls were seen as omens of death or messengers of the supernatural. Because they are nocturnal creatures with haunting calls, owls became natural symbols for Lilith, who was also associated with night and darkness. This symbolic connection between Lilith and owls continued to influence her representation in later myths and texts. Although its presence in the Bible is brief, it is notable. Isaiah 34:14 mentions creatures of the night, translated from the Hebrew word Lilith. Different versions of the Bible interpret this term in different ways, such as owl, nocturnal creature, or monster of the night, reflecting the ambiguity surrounding its identity. Lilith's story spans millennia and civilizations, going through transformations from goddess to demon, from wind spirit to nocturnal entity. What remains constant is his image as an independent and rebellious figure who defied established norms and was condemned to exile in the shadows of mythology. The passage in Isaiah mentions the wilderness as a place where creatures will encounter hyenas and wild animals. Goats will scream to each other, and nocturnal creatures will also lie down there, finding resting places for themselves. In Isaiah 34:14, the King James Version translates creatures of the night as screaming owl, while the New Revised Standard Version translates it directly as Lilith. This variation in translation highlights the enigmatic nature of the character Lilith in biblical texts. Lilith's demonic aspect becomes most evident in the Song of the Sage portion of the Dead Sea Scrolls. In this text, she is grouped with other evil spirits, reinforcing her role as a feared entity in Jewish demonology. The Song of the Sage describes several evil entities, including Lilith, who were believed to bring harm and misfortune. The text states, "And I, the Master, proclaim the majesty of your beauty to frighten and terrify all the spirits of the destroying angels, the spirits of the bastards, the demons, Lilith, the howlers, and the yelpers." This passage emphasizes Lilith's association with chaos and destruction, further cementing her reputation as a demonic entity. In the Babylonian Talmud, Lilith appears as a night demon who feeds on the energy of men and newborns. In references such as Shabbat 151b and Nidar 24b, she is described as a winged creature with a human face, symbolizing fears of the night and infant mortality. In Shabbat 151b, it is written that a man should not sleep alone at home, lest Lilith capture him. This warning reflects the belief that Lilith could cause harm to those who were vulnerable or isolated. In Nidar 44b, Lilith is described as a female demon with wings, reinforcing her supernatural and threatening nature. Mesopotamian enchantment bowls, dated between 500 and 700 AD, contain spells against Lilith. These artifacts demonstrate how fear of Lilith was ingrained in everyday life, leading people to seek protection from her supposed malevolence. One of these bowls bears an Aramaic inscription designed to ward off Lilith and other evil spirits. The text often included specific names and formulas intended to protect the home environment. This practice highlights the widespread fear of Lilith's evil influence and the efforts people made to ensure her safety. The alphabet of Ben Sira, a medieval text, provides the most detailed and influential story about Lilith. In this narrative, she defies Adam, pronounces the ineffable name of God, and flees Eden. When confronted by angels sent to bring her back, she makes a pact to spare babies who wear protective amulets, solidifying her dual role as a rebellious woman and a demonic entity. The text details the conflict between Adam and Lilith, showing that, by refusing to submit to him, she leaves Eden and begins a new existence as a demon. God sends 3 angels, Senoi, Sansanoi, and Samangaloth, to bring her back, but she refuses and proposes a compromise. She will not harm children who wear amulets with the names of these angels. This story not only explains Lilith's departure from Eden, but also theologically substantiates the use of protective amulets in Jewish tradition. In Kabbalistic texts, such as the Zohar, Lilith gains even more mystical attributes. She becomes Satan's wife and a symbol of chaotic feminine energy, opposing divine order. His story intertwines with themes of redemption and messianic prophecy, illustrating his complex role in Jewish mysticism. The Zohar, written in the 13th century in Spain, is a fundamental work of Jewish mysticism. In this text, Lilith is described as a demon who seduces men and harms children. She is also portrayed as the consort of Samael, a demon prince, further emphasizing her role in the cosmic struggle between good and evil. Lilith's depiction in the Zohar reflects the increasing complexity of her character and her importance in Jewish mystical traditions. In contemporary culture, Lilith is often seen as a symbol of female empowerment and rebellion. Her name is surprisingly popular as a girl's name in modern America, reflecting her enduring legacy and evolving identity. In recent years, Lilith has been reinterpreted by several feminist movements as a figure of independence and strength. This modern perspective emphasizes her defiance against patriarchal norms and her refusal to be subjugated. Lilith's transformation from a feared demon to an icon of female empowerment underscores the evolutionary nature of the myth and its relevance to contemporary issues. If you liked this video, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Leave your comment below sharing your opinion. Until the next video.